Don't try to sneak into your room like that. I know what you've got behind your back. Records. More new records.
Right, so now this is the new...
So this is our new SL-1300, and it's going to be available in black or silver. And if you recall the 1500C styling, this is what we call our hi-fi styling. We have the Pro DJ style of the 1200, that iconic look. It's a bit of a techno look and industrial look. Some love it, some can't do without it. Some would prefer not to have all the lights and bells and faders and strobes and etchings and things and target lights. So we've removed all those in this model, just like the 1500 fit that persona, and it's like a upscale version, but not really an upscale version of the 1500. It's kind of difficult to describe because we've taken some improvements of the GR2, SL-1300G R2, and we've also taken some features from the SL-1200G. So it's in between those, but it's designed as a hi-fi turntable. So
it's at a happy point.
We feel that this will appeal to a lot, maybe even a wider audience for these reasons. And you can see cosmetically, I'm going to dig into some of this with our presentation so I don't forget anything. But this is the platter, for instance, from the G. And it's the motor from the G. So this is the 1200G motor, the twin rotor coreless design with the 9 stator coils and the same type of torque as an SP10 Mark II. This was driven by a Blu-ray circuitry to control the speed, and we're going to tell you some differences in the new model. So we're acting on this motor. This is what's underneath that platter. And you can see how easy everything spins and turns. So that's a twin rotor system. The GR2 was a single rotor system, and it was a 2-piece platter motor combination. This motor is mounted to the die-cast chassis here. This is a layer solid sheet of aluminum here. So it's a 2-layer plinth, and it's basically we take the tone arm from the GR2 and the platter from the G, the motor from the G, and essentially the plinth from the GR2, but we've upgraded some things, which I'll talk about a little bit. And
so what is this? This is pretty heavy.
It's about 30 pounds, yeah. Adjustable footers with some insulation, some gel in there as well, and very easy to adjust these. And this platter needs to be mounted with the triple screw Belleville washer and washers because this is the heavier rotation, the higher torque needs to be bolted down. And if you want to change the torque, if you remember the G model had adjustments for torque and for braking, you could change those settings on the G with a screw adjustment. This one you just tap the screw. This has adjustment for torque only, not for braking, because we're not using it as a DJ approach here. And you just tap it with a screwdriver, and it blinks a little red light back to confirm your settings. So it starts at -1 to +3, and the +3 is the strongest torque.
So it's really easier to experiment with.
Comes from the factory.
You have to pull.
Yep, you don't have to. Well, you could do the same thing with the 1200G, because you could do the same thing through the platter. It's just this has a little different way of setting it. That's all.
Okay.
So that's a nice feature of it, and it's the same weight, same platter weight, and so on. And one thing that you'll appreciate after reviewing some of these things, remember the AC cord going in on the right angle?
Yes, I heard it was.
Now it's straight in now.
Oh, that's so good.
If you want to see that.
That's the most important thing. Forget about the rest of this motor nonsense.
To a lot of people, this is a very important feature, and now you can use you could use the larger AC cords aftermarket if you wanted to. It's just they were a little harder to get in there. Now you can easily connect it. There's no change here. You can get in with your RCAs very easily. So
that's a good change.
A lot of people like that. Yeah, thank you about it, but I just wanted to reiterate the history of Technics and direct drive.
I think people love this stuff.
It's a great story, and I've been part of it for many of these years. I come in around 1975, second generation, but this first generation of direct drive was the SP10, which was designed the first direct drive turntable by Technics, and it was designed for radio station use in the 1970, which was very well adapted for its ease of use and no need to upgrade it or repair it and replace belts or drives or anything, and they just dropped it in their consoles, and it was adapted by the industry very widely, and other models came from that generation, like the 1100, the original SL-1200, and that was known as our first generation. The second generation of direct drive came from us with the SP10 Mark II and the invention of quartz lock, as many turntables used in the day, and that included the SL-1200 Mark II in 1979, that SL-10 is the linear tracker that you see, the jacket size. And then we also made an SL-1000 based on the SP Mark II, SP-10 Mark II as well. That was with a plinth and a dust cover and an arm. So that was the second generation of quartz lock. And the third generation is the 2016, when we brought turntables back to CES in 2016 with the first coreless direct drive from Technics, based on that motor and the 1200G AE special edition that came out then. And from that generation grew our 1200 Mark VII, the SL-1000, the 1200GR, the 1200GR2, the 1500C. So this is our full coreless drive lineup. So this is the dawn. Last year when you were here to cover the SL-1200GR2, this was the dawn of the fourth generation, and that's the inclusion of this Delta Sigma power supply, a Delta Sigma drive system, and the new upgraded power supply. So that was put in the GR2, and now we're going to adapt that into this 1300G. So this is the beginning of a new generation of coreless direct drive for us. And as much of this being a analog product and enjoying, vinyl in particular, there's so much digital technology going into just spinning the motor and making sure the power supply is performing at its optimum.
I'm always a
levels,
fan of digital in the service of analog.
There you go.
I think that's a really good thing.
Yep. So let me take you a little deeper into some of the technology, and just to give you a quick look, again, these are the 1200 style models. These are the hi-fi design models up to the SL-1000, and these are the two different looks with silver and black. This is the improvement we've made. We've actually, as I say, we made some improvements. So this motor, originally, this is what's inside those two twin rotors is the circuit board with the stator coils, and they've been bolstered with a double-sided board and a reinforced pattern to improve the coil mounting rigidity of those. So this has a lot more torque, remember, than the two-piece single rotor magnet. So with this platter and so on, we needed to bolster it. We adapted that from the SL-1000 actually. Right. So that's one improvement that's been made to this new model. And this is the other improvement. We've added the Delta Sigma drive system, which again is essentially, as explained in the first model that we came out with, it's the same type of system applied to this new motor with different parameters, because it is a different motor and different parameters of driving it, to perfect the performance of the motor. So, everyone says, well, gee, Bill, you removed the iron core and you removed the vibrations and the cogging and so on. How could you remove more vibration? And, you learn a few things over time. And our engineers applied this Delta Sigma drive, which is full digital technology, to apply to controlling the motor. And a digital process named after PCM, essentially, is right. Delta Sigma. So this process is designed to work with the power supply, but the idea is to have the ideal precision pulse generated so that the motor can drive purely. And ideally, what's happening, if you see again, we're creating less distortion from lower vibration, and the area of around 9 to 14 hertz, that important resonant frequency of the tone arm, this is significantly lower. So, I feel that we get a lot of easy matching with compliances and listening to cartridges and just tuning everything. Just almost immediately can hear the difference after listening to these turntables so often. Wow. I just really know what I'm hearing. I can hear differences in these things, and it's subtle, but
the readers have asked me to ask you if I get to review this, to get this and to get the one above and the one below it.
That would be quite a project, though.
It would be a project, but it would be really good to do, if you want me to.
I do that at home all the time. In fact, I took the SL-1000 off its top of the rack, and I put this right where the SL-1000 was, and I started listening, and I'm just amazed how wonderful it sounds. Every one of our turntables has their own sound quality and performance, but just enjoyed the
and it is very difficult for any reviewer to explain those differences if they haven't heard it in relation to the other one.
It's true.
Time passes. You can try to remember, but it's very difficult to remember. Certainly, you could remember the first time you heard the top of the line one or the 1000, when you heard the 1000, you know you were hearing something that was on a different level. That you knew. But between these, from memory, a little more difficult, you know.
I can tell you after I took this off, I put that back and I listened to the G, and there's definitely differences, and it's subtle, but again,
that's got a different arm too, right?
To think about the differences, remember we said we upgraded from the GR2 to the better motor and the better platter. We kept the GR2 tone arm. The G still has the magnesium tone arm.
Right.
The G still has a 4-layer plinth. The G still has zinc footers and special gel in there, and there's a slightly different range of VTA between these models. So this can accommodate a slimmer cartridge, so without the need for shims. So this VTA can have a different range compared to the G. So all these things combined, you know, we have a finished product at $32.99, which you can give you plenty of room to add a cartridge before you even get to the price point of the G.
So this is $32.99, and that's $42. So it's like $1,000 difference. Yeah.
So, Michael, this is the other part of the improvement that we made to this motor. This is the multi-stage silent power supply, and again, it's designed to remove noise and control the voltage variations so that we have, again, more accurate control of the motor and removing noise. So the two systems combined will give us this part of this 4th generation of improvements that we've made to this, and it's all applied to this new twin rotor coreless drive now. And as I mentioned, you know, we needed to keep the price appropriate, and so you can't put a 4-layer plinth in there like a G. But what we did was we took the top layer of aluminum die cast, and like the GR2, this is the flip side. This is what's underneath where the motor's mounted, and this is where the tone arm would go through. And what we learned was with this extra torque that this motor can create, we needed to bolster the strength of the aluminum. So they've ribbed some extra areas here. The GR2 has its ribs, and the GR has ribs also, but this is specific to this model. They've updated it.
Were those differences based upon measurements and?
Absolutely. Yeah. Based on the motor, the single rotor, they had to make certain adjustments to that to do that. And with this double twin rotor with the extra torque and the type of plinth that we're using, these changes had to be made to appreciate the improvements, because you don't have that 4-layer plinth, right?
Yeah.
So, and the blue part there, I don't know if your camera's picking up the colors, but that's what we've reduced by making those changes. So the red is what you get before, after, and you would add the blue before. So it's a twin layer, so it's a bulk mold compound for the lower section, and cast aluminum for the top section. And we've kept, as we said, it's a 3-layer platter, so it's die-cast aluminum in the center, deadening rubber on the bottom, and that brass weight, and it's all epoxied together. I'm not sure exactly what they use, but it's also bolted together, and weighs, I think, 3.6 kilograms, something like 7 pounds, and it's hand-balanced. So when you see the flip side of any of these turntables, you find different cuts etched in there depending on where they needed to be to give the precision balancing to work in with the inertial momentum of the motor and platter affecting everything. So very important feature on the additional platter. So this is just a comparison to show, you know, the 1200 look versus the hi-fi look, and just the subtle features you receive. And if you remember, it looks very much like a 1500C. When you walk into a showroom and you see this turntable, you say, oh, that's a 1500. But this is the dead giveaway, is the platter. And that's the only thing. I just want people to realize that there are many, many, many improvements versus a 1500, but it's that look that we wanted to get across. And many reviewers and many consumers have asked us if we could just come out with a simpler version of that.
I get it. Yep. For aesthetic purposes, sure.
And another, these are the two versions a little. And if you remember, the 1500C had VTA adjustment, but you had to lift it and push it and lock it. This is on a screw still. So
this is the more sophisticated way of doing it.
Much easier of adjusting. And these are the two different colors. And nowadays, we remove the styrene and the styrofoam from the packing, and now being part of a green company like Panasonic, we like to have the...
and now you don't have to tell people how to angle the turntable to get the AC plug in. That's the whole technique that you have to
We have a different way with this, actually. We have different instructions for that in there, but you could do that because it is a heavy turntable. That
Yeah.
for some people it's a little difficult to do. So this is our green contribution, and that's everything on the turntable. We'd love to give you a sound presentation. So, Michael, the other product we want to talk to you about are these new SCCX 700 active loudspeakers, and they're a new addition to the Technics line. And we'll tell you more in detail. I just wanted to get you a quick look of these. The reason I have this slide up here is to just show you, since Technics' rebirth in 2014 at CES with those two systems, if you remember, we've added many products. We started out with digital amplification and high-resolution loudspeakers with the new line, and streaming at the time was everything that was just starting to become very popular. So that was our first step. We've added a grand class to the premium and the reference class. We've added different versions of the loudspeakers, second generation of amplifiers, many different versions of turntables. We had some all-in-one systems. We have some headphones, some earbuds these days. We have different color variations of turntables and so on. So we've come a long way in just 10 short years. seems like a lot has happened, and
Yeah,
I think we're up to maybe
products.
28 different models. I have to recount everything. But the idea with these new speakers is to sort of bring all that technology that we've developed into one nice little package that you can set up your active speakers on a bookshelf, a pair of stands, they can be your single source for everything you want to do. So these are wireless speaker systems, so all you have to do is plug them into the wall, and they will wirelessly communicate with a remote control or your Technics Audio Center app on your iPhone or your Android device. And
And you can stream to them
You
from...
can stream. They have all the streaming services built in.
Oh.
I'll tell you about all the different ways you can reach it, and there's a lot more to it. And they come in 3 different colors, terracotta or a silky gray or a charcoal black. We'll tell you more about the cabinet and the finish in a minute. And they go for $3,000 a pair, $29.99 a pair. They're definitely an upscale product to fit in between some of the products that are on the market now. I think
Yep.
it finds a very nice area to fit in, I think, with what's already out there. And I'm very happy that it's taken a while to come out with these. If we've always made a very nice bookshelf type speaker or stand mount speaker that we've won a lot of awards for in some cases. And this is a little...
And it's got a phono preamp built into it.
Yeah, so
Oh,
really
that's
what
cool.
you're going to do with these is
That's
you're
a
going
good
to
idea when
connect
you make turntables,
AC to the wall is the minimum, right?
Right.
As long as you plug AC to the wall and you're on your Wi-Fi network, that's all you need to connect. These other things are there for other reasons, but it has a built-in magnetic moving magnet phono preamp, a Technics quality moving magnet phono preamp, and their digital amplification. It's 60 watts to the woofer and 40 watts to the tweeter. And connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay, Google Cast, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, Tidal, Qobuz, Internet radio, and it's Roon ready via firmware update when they do ship in November or December, depending on what color arrives first. But these are the different ways that you can set them up. They're in free space like we have here. You can set them up near a wall or near a corner and in a shelf, and the Technics app will help you. Just push a button for these settings and it'll adapt them for the best sound.
It's the same app that I used with the other...
Yes, but
yeah.
we've actually added some flexibility to it for configuring the app. And this is how most people might set them up on a bookshelf or with a turntable next to it. And they're very non-resonant cabinets, so they're not going to contribute sound or feedback to your turntable. You could actually put a good quality turntable next to it and not have any kind of resonance from it. So extreme connectivity. I didn't really mention it there, but there's HDMI ARC, which we're going to tell you more about in a minute as well. So it's not just audio streaming of 2-channel, it's also your television streaming as well. So it unites itself. So these are some improvements we made to the app, some just little details that you can configure the app for your usage and whatever is most convenient for you. So there'll be an update to the app when it's time for these speakers to come out. And it comes with a very nice remote control. It's not a little credit card. It uses AAA batteries, so it has a carbon fiber look to it, but it's not. And just very nice remote control.
Yeah.
And so this would work. The Technics app is free, and you'd be able to control it either way. And you can actually, if you see this, Michael, you can actually touch the controls for switching and volume control. Everything is right there at your fingertips. I'm going to go back here now. So I'll sneak over here. And the technology in this is a culmination of Technics design technology and speaker technology, amplifier technology, and signal processing technology. Over all that 10-year period, we've learned a lot of things, and one of the things is this acoustic, this interesting title, Acoustic Solitude Construction. And really what it is designed after our balanced driver mounting architecture. So the speaker drivers on most speakers are attached to the front of the cabinet, and they're screwed into the front baffle of the cabinet.
Right.
These speakers are actually screwed into, they're bolted in, secured into an internal baffle, which suctions the loudspeaker to the front of the baffle without creating any vibration to the front baffle. And I can show you a cutaway of it over here. I'm not sure how the camera will pick this up, but here's a cutaway of the speaker so that you can see the inner baffle is here. And you can see that the mounted is on the inside, and this is just pulled against the outer front of the cabinet. And a lot of companies have made upgrades to their speakers so that they can reduce resonances from the baffle. It's very important consideration. And we've had this balanced driver mounting architecture in many of our speakers prior to this. So we've taken that and we've added that. And while we're on the look of this, you can see the internal the smooth flow port. It's a front firing port with this inside gathers the air, and the idea is to avoid any noises that these could possibly make in the process of moving air through the cabinet. And what's really good is
having
that
a front port, you can put it closer to the wall, right?
Right, the front port gives us easier flexibility and placement, and the design of the amplifier and circuitry is separate, completely separate from that cabinet. So none of that can affect what's happening here. And very high quality rigid cabinet. This is a mock-up, so it's not showing you the full. So this amplifier is this is the power supply, the digital amplifier, the phono preamp is from here. You can see the phone, and everything is actually laid out to be isolated from the other, so that
As
they
it
don't.
would have to be.
Yes, and then also isolated from the activity of the loudspeaker itself. So that's just a cutaway to show you what's happening inside there. So this precision driver, this is something we've improved on actually. That it looks similar to a driver that's in our SBC 600, but we've made some improvements. We've added this smooth flow diaphragm. If you know that the rolled edge of most woofers, have that rounded edge. And this, we've kind of eliminated that so there's less of a reflection from that. So that's one improvement, smooth flow diagram. The other one is the actual ring tweeter. It's a lighter weight ring tweeter, so it moves quickly and converges faster with more faithful reproduction. And the has a phase plug added to there. So altogether, the linear phase equalizer is based on this acoustic analysis. So you can see with and without. And with computer-aided design, they can see exactly what improvements are made. And the idea is to reach a truer waveform. This is called a model-based diaphragm control. So remember I told you that these are Technics digital amplifiers built in here. They're not a Class D, they're not a Class AB, but they're working in the digital domain the entire time. And what's special about it is in that digital environment we can do things. So if you remember, the integrated amp had the ability to do LAPC, load adaptive phase calibration, so it understands how to better drive the loudspeaker. This has that internally from the factory because we know the driver we're putting in here, we know the measurements, so we know how to do that.
Right.
But this is something that we've made this model, let's say, this ideal speaker model that performs a certain way. So this is our model base, and from that signal, they've processed that into the signal processor for this, and they have an ideal measurement, and then they can listen to how the speaker is performing, and they can actually reverse any incongruencies to it. So it's in its natural state, that little speaker wants to just stay the way it is. When you start driving it forward and backwards, it's doing things that could be out of control. And this model-based precision is going to eliminate a lot of the harmonic distortion that's caused by those differences. And very complex, above my head to try to explain this.
And so if you were to put a normal speaker measurement kind of technique on this, how linear would it be in terms of frequency response?
So again, this is not a frequency response based thing, right?
Right,
It's
I
removing
understand.
distortion. So
Right.
a speaker response curve might not apply to this, but
No, I understand. What
but
what
it's
would it look
interesting.
like?
So that's a good question.
We want to make a rich bass from the small speaker unit. So the motion of the diaphragm is too big. And if the diaphragm come to the end, the top end or the bottom end, because there's some tension of the damper, or there's some non-linearity of the magnetic circuit, prevent the linear. So actually, that actual speaker is far from the ideal motion in that sense. So we measured with the actual speaker the non-linearity of the diaphragm motion in a lab, and make a speaker model. Actually, this is the very mathematical model of inside the DSP unit, and compare the response of the ideal model and the actual model. And from the difference of these two output, we can measure the how we can modify the actual signal to cancel the non-linearity from on the
This all presupposes that the unit-to-unit variation in the manufacturing of the physical driver is very, very
small.
very
Very small.
Yeah.
So actually, this kind of the non-linearity is determined by the design itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, quite interesting and quite hard to explain.
Yes, thank
No,
you.
I get it.
Whoop. So, and when you combine all these things, these different segments that we've applied from the speaker technology side, behind all being pushed by our digital amplification and all these controls that we can add, the smooth flow port, all this computer assisted engineering gives us a lot of intuition on how to drive things. The smooth flow port is the idea is to not create any vibrations or sounds as you're moving all this air. You want to have perfection in moving the air without affecting any vibrations or resonances as well. And just simply speaking here, when we're communicating between the loudspeakers, the left and right channels, we want to make sure that we have the cleanest connection between the left and right channel. That can be done wirelessly or wired, depending how you'd like to do it. In the wireless mode, it's 2496 with high res. In the wired mode, it's 24192. So there is some benefit by having it wired. But the idea is to avoid any disturbance noise or anything caused by jitter. We want to have the cleanest signal so that we're instantaneously reproducing left and right channels wirelessly, right? There's a lot of technology involved in doing it properly. So this enables all that with no distortion from both speakers. And as you know, Technics has always used the highest grade parts, whether it's our power supply or our digital processing engines or our Geno engine or our GAN FETs, and this is something that Technics has been known for since our
This is
our
really
early
a
days.
lot more than simply a powered loudspeaker.
It's definitely a higher end approach to a system that won't be used just for two channel. It's going to be, yes, for two channel, but what I mean is not just for music. I think it's going to, as we show you the quick demonstration of the HDMI arc, this is one thing that, being part of Panasonic, Panasonic has always been in the HDMI consortium, so they know exactly how to manipulate an HDMI signal once it reaches us. So we're sending via HDMI arc signal, whatever's on the television can come to the loudspeaker. But the key is we only want the audio in the loudspeaker. We don't want the video there.
Right.
So we have the ability to blank out the video when it's here in our loudspeaker. So that's not contributing to any noise or distortion or so it's not polluting us in the audio. So this is something unique, I think, to Technics. And this is one of the features here, because we are going to, a lot of people that are going to use these are going to enjoy the signal from their televisions. So I'll show you that in a second. So this is the eco packaging on this as well. So that's the speaker story.
Important.
Yep, and I can give you a demonstration. I think you might like the demonstration with the phono
Yeah.
stage and listen to the phono preamp.
I want to hear these now. You make
Yeah,
me, you
I'm going
make
to
me
play
want
them.
to hear them.
Absolutely.